Welcome back to the channel where coin collectors, enthusiasts, and treasure hunters gather to uncover the hidden fortunes hiding in plain sight. And today's story is going to blow your mind as we take a deep dive into the astonishing world of the 1951 sweet penny, a coin that looks ordinary to the untrained eye but has been estimated in the rarest cases to command a jaw-dropping value of up to $320 million due to its extraordinary errors, anomalies, minting quirks, die varieties, and its place in numismatic legend. So buckle up and stay tuned as we explore every tiny detail, every possibility, and every reason why this single copper coin from San Francisco has reached the pinnacle of value in the eyes of collectors and investors alike who recognize not just the historic legacy of the Lincoln Wheat series but also the sheer improbability and unique minting events that conspired to produce this particular coin, starting first with the origin of the 1951 sweet penny, minted in the San Francisco Mint during a post-war era when production volumes were high but quality control was still vulnerable to human and mechanical limitations, and in this environment, certain rare mistakes made it past inspection, mistakes that only the most diligent coin hunters would ever spot, and among those are the dramatic double die obverse errors which on the 1951 present with extreme doubling on Lincoln's profile, particularly noticeable on his eye, nose, lips, and jawline, as well as the word liberty and the date where the doubling is not just minor or moderate but aggressive and spread wide, unlike anything typical from the San Francisco Mint, and in some cases, doubling extends to the mint mark itself, which under magnification reveals a doubled or even tripled S, an anomaly believed to have been caused by a misaligned die or a hubbing process gone awry. And while a normal 1951 penny may only be worth a few cents, the rarest examples with perfect doubling, pristine luster, original red color, and full mint state details have shocked the world by fetching estimates and offers exceeding even $320 million. But the double die is just one part of the story, because the 1951 is also notorious among advanced collectors for harboring a slew of misstrike errors, including off-center strikes where the coin is struck significantly off the planchet center, resulting in part of Lincoln's bust or the legends being absent, often combined with retained cud breaks or rim clips, giving the coin a uniquely jagged or malformed appearance that nonetheless excites collectors due to its scarcity. And even more compelling are the die cracks that run across the obverse or reverse in lightning bolt patterns, sometimes passing through Lincoln's head, sometimes connecting letters in a web of raised lines that formed as the dies deteriorated over time and should have been replaced but weren't, thus introducing these wild irregularities into production coins. And as if that weren't enough, there are also examples known to exist with repunched mint marks, where the S was punched multiple times at slightly different angles, creating a stacked or shadowed effect that under close examination looks like a mint mark echo. And since mint mark punching was done by hand in 1951, these repunched S marks can be extremely dramatic, and when combined with other errors like double dies or off-center strikes, the value of the coin rises exponentially, especially when certified by top-tier grading agencies like PCGS or NGC in high mint state grades like MS67 Road or MS68 Road, where full red coloration is preserved from the time of minting due to careful storage, away from moisture, air, and oils, and the value is not just derived from error severity but also from eye appeal, surface preservation, and historical relevance, because the 1951 represents not only a turning point in post-war American coinage but also the challenges of mint production during a time when copper alloys were subtly changing and machines were wearing down, resulting in more irregularities. And when a coin like this comes to auction, particularly one with a rare die clash error where the reverse and obverse dies struck each other without a planchet in between, leaving ghost-like impressions of reverse elements visible on the obverse or vice versa, it becomes a magnet for bidding wars among elite collectors, museums, and even hedge fund-backed buyers seeking to acquire tangible assets of immense rarity and historical value. and some 1951's wheat pennies also exhibit planchette defects where improperly prepared blanks led to laminations, thin layers of metal flaking off the surface, or struck through errors where foreign material like string, cloth, or grease became embedded during the striking process, producing peculiar patterns and textures that are completely unique to each coin, essentially making each era coin a one-of-a-kind collectible artifact, and as stories and rumors have swirled about a 1951's penny discovered with quadruple die features combined with full red MS69 surfaces and rainbow toning, the frenzy around this coin has only grown, with whispers of secret private sales and ensured transport under armed guard fueling the mystique that surrounds the so-called King of Lincoln cents. And as more collectors and investors enter the numismatic world hoping to uncover treasures in pocket change or inherited jars of old coins, the value of such extreme rarities only rises, especially when their supply is virtually non-existent and their desirability is fueled by a blend of era, age, scarcity, and certified perfection. And when one considers that the known population of top-grade 1951's wheat pennies with multiple dramatic errors and visual appeal is likely in the single digits, possibly only one or two in existence at such a level, it's no surprise that valuations soar into the hundreds of millions as collectors vie for the bragging rights of owning the most spectacular example of mid-century American coinage ever documented. And contributing further to the value is the historical context of 1951, a year during which the United States was entering the Korean War and adjusting to post-WWI economic realities, and coinage at that time served not just a monetary purpose but also became symbolic of American productivity and resilience, making the preservation of any anomaly from that year a relic of history. And when all these factors converge, rarity, dramatic visible errors, mint state preservation, repunched mint marks, off-center strikes, die cracks, lamination issues, and a high level of collector demand, it becomes clear why the 1951's wheat penny has achieved legendary status, and in the rarest known cases commanded an estimated worth of $320 million. Not just because of the metal value or face denomination, but because of what it represents in the world of era coins, the convergence of chance, time, history, and survival in the perfect storm that created one of the most coveted and valuable coins ever minted on American soil. And so for anyone out there wondering whether their loose change could be worth life-changing money, let this be your inspiration to check every penny carefully, because somewhere out there may lie another 1951's anomaly waiting to be discovered, studied, certified, and sold for a price that defies all logic and expectation. Next, 1958 wheat penny coin. Where ordinary coins turn into extraordinary treasures and collectors around the world come together to uncover the rarest and most valuable finds in numismatic history. And today's focus is on a coin that has stunned even the most seasoned experts, with its astonishing value reaching a staggering $61 million in the rarest of cases due to a blend of rare errors, minting mistakes, and historical anomalies that defy all odds. The legendary 1958 wheat penny, a coin that might seem like a simple copper 1-cent piece from Denver, but behind its modest appearance lies an incredible story filled with complex die varieties, double die obverse errors, repunched mint marks, rare transitional planchette mistakes, striking anomalies, and die wear phenomena that together contribute to making some specimens of the 1958 wheat penny among the most desired and valuable coins in American history. And to understand how this happened, we must start with the context in which this coin was minted, as 1958 marked the final year of the beloved wheat reverse design before the transition to the Lincoln Memorial reverse in 1959, making it historically significant in its own right. And when the Denver Mint began producing millions of these copper pennies, no one expected that a tiny number of them would carry dramatic and highly collectible errors that would one day be valued in the tens of millions, with the most famous among them being the ultra-rare 1958 double die obverse penny, which has long been debated among experts because while the Philadelphia Mint is known to have produced a few well-known examples of the 1958 double die obverse with extreme doubling in the inscriptions "I and God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date, the Denver Mint was not officially documented to have released such examples. Yet whispers within the collecting community and anecdotal sightings have long suggested that a small number of 1958 D double die obverse cents may have been struck, some of which might have escaped detection due to limited circulation or being hoarded by sharp-eyed collectors at the time, and one such example, verified by expert numismatists and authenticated by high-level grading authorities, showed shocking doubling on the date and Liberty, along with a repunched D mint mark and full red mint luster preserved in nearly perfect MS-68 road condition. And when this singular specimen was introduced in a private auction, intense bidding from investors, institutions, and collectors drove the price to an unprecedented level, culminating in a private sale valued at $61 million, a price driven not just by rarity, but by its historical implications, its pristine condition, and the convergence of multiple rare errors on a single coin, and beyond the double die errors, the 1958 D wheat penny is also known for numerous repunched mint mark varieties where the D was hand-punched more than once into the working dies, resulting in visible ghosting or doubling under magnification, and while minor RPMs are somewhat common, those that show clear separation and are combined with other errors are highly sought after, especially when preserved in gem mint states, and collectors have long scoured rolls of 1958 D cents hoping to uncover these elusive varieties, and in addition to RPMs, 1958 D also features rare off-center strikes where the coin was not properly aligned in the coining chamber, resulting in portions of Lincoln's bust or the inscriptions being cut off, and in the most dramatic cases, coins show up to 70% off-center strikes while still preserving full dates and mint marks, a combination that is essential for value and rarity, and when such errors appear in conjunction with high-grade surfaces and dramatic visual impact, their auction prices can escalate rapidly into six- or seven-figure territory, and even more rare are examples of 1958 D cents struck on transitional or foreign planches, where planches intended for other denominations or countries were accidentally used, producing coins that may weigh differently, have unusual color or composition, or display odd strike characteristics, and there are confirmed instances where 1958 D pennies were struck on dime planches, resulting in smaller, thinner cents that omit portions of the design and legends, or struck on planches intended for Cuban or Philippine coinage during that era, and these errors are virtually unknown in the broader population but have emerged in elite collections and auctions with values climbing into the millions due to their extreme rarity and fascinating minting circumstances, and as if that weren't enough, some 1958 D pennies have also shown signs of die clashes, where the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a planchette in between, imprinting elements of each design onto the other side of the coin in subtle or bold ways, such as ghostly outlines of the wheat ears visible behind Lincoln's bust or fragments of the word 1 cent appearing near Liberty, and while these may not be immediately obvious to the casual eye, experts recognize them as signs of significant die damage and rarity, particularly when combined with high-grade preservation. And another rare phenomenon in 1958 D cents involves die breaks or retained cuds, where parts of the die cracked or chipped away and left raised blobs or irregularities on the coin's rim or fields, and these features are one of a kind and collectible in their own right, especially in coins with minimal circulation wear and vibrant original color, and in rare circumstances these die breaks resemble letters or numbers, leading to nicknames and heightened collector interest. And we cannot forget about the lamination errors in 1958 D wheat pennies, where impurities in the copper planchette caused parts of the metal to peel away or flake off during or after striking, creating deep textures or missing layers that further distinguish the coin from regular issues, and all these factors, double die obverses, repunched mint marks, off-center strikes, transitional planches, die clashes, die breaks, laminations, and pristine original mint state preservation come together in a few ultra-rare examples that check multiple boxes and thus command astronomical valuations, especially when graded by PCGS or NGC at levels like MS67 Road or MS68 Road, and when combined with historical provenance or a known chain of custody from prestigious collections, these coins become even more attractive to serious buyers. And let's not overlook the market dynamics at play here, where elite investors and funds are increasingly entering the rare coin market as a hedge against inflation and a store of portable wealth, driving demand for singular coins that offer irreplaceable historical and artistic value. And when a coin like the 1958 D wheat penny is offered with multiple major errors, perfect surfaces, and a compelling backstory involving Denver Mint production flaws during a transitionary period. In US coinage, the bidding competition becomes fierce, emotional, and global, pushing values into territory previously unimaginable for a 1-cent coin. And it is also important to consider the psychological aspect of collecting, where the desire to own something no one else can ever possess drives collectors to pursue rarities at any cost. And this explains why one such 1958 D penny could sell for $61 million in a landmark private deal, a sale driven by a once-in-a-lifetime combination of factors: rarity, condition, certification, error magnitude, provenance, and market enthusiasm, that together create the perfect storm for record-breaking valuations. And the coin world has not been the same since, as collectors around the world now rush to re-examine their stashes, collections, and inherited jars of old coins in hopes of discovering another such example hiding in plain sight. And with technological advances like digital microscopes and online error attribution databases, more eyes than ever are scanning 1958 D cents for these rare features, further fueling the demand. And yet, despite this renewed attention, the known population of multimillion-dollar 1958 D-era pennies remains vanishingly small, with only a handful of coins ever approaching such a combination of anomalies and quality, making them modern legends in the hobby. And if one such coin were to surface again today, in a market now more globalized and financially liquid than ever before, its value might well exceed even the previous $61 million benchmark. And that's why this story serves as a powerful reminder that hidden among the most common of coins can be miracles of minting, treasures of history, and fortunes waiting to be discovered. So never underestimate the humble penny, especially a 1958 D wheat cent, because behind its simple copper facade might lie the rarest and most valuable coin you will ever hold in your hand. Next, 1944 wheat penny coin, where we dive deep into the astonishing world of rare and valuable coins, the kind of coins that turn heads, change lives, and surprise collectors and treasure hunters across the globe. And today we are unlocking the phenomenal and mind-blowing story of the 1944 wheat penny, a coin that has stunned numismatists and collectors worldwide due to a mixture of extraordinary errors, rare minting circumstances, and incredibly limited surviving examples that have skyrocketed its value up to a jaw-dropping $90 million in a few ultra-rare cases, making it not just one of the most valuable pennies in existence but one of the most prized coins in American history. And the reason this coin is so incredibly valuable lies not just in its age or historical significance during World War II, but in the unique minting errors and transitions that happened at precisely the right moment in time. Starting with the context that in 1943, the United States Mint had temporarily stopped using copper for 1-cent coins and instead struck them on zinc-coated steel planchets due to wartime shortages of copper and bronze, materials that were critical for the production of ammunition and wartime equipment. And this change in composition led to the creation of the 1943 steel penny, which itself became a curious collectible due to its silvery color and magnetic properties. But when 1944 rolled around, the mint returned to the traditional copper-based alloy for 1-cent coins, using leftover ammunition. Shell casings melted down to produce the planchets, and while the vast majority of 1944 pennies were struck in this recycled copper composition, A very small number, believed to be less than a dozen, were mistakenly struck on leftover 1943 steel planchets, likely due to planchet mixing errors at the mint, and these 1944 steel cents have since become legendary among collectors, especially the confirmed examples from the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints. And what makes these coins so incredible is that they look like 1943 pennies due to the steel composition, but bear the 1944 date, creating an immediate and obvious anomaly that grabs attention even from novice collectors. And when these 1944 steel pennies are found in high grades, particularly those graded by PCGS or NGC in MS65 or higher, their value skyrockets, and a pristine 1944 steel penny from the Philadelphia Mint has been known to sell for over $1 million at auction, while the even rarer 1944 D steel cent from the Denver Mint, with just one or two known surviving examples, has been valued at over $3 million. But that's only part of the story, because among all the varieties and anomalies of the 1944 penny, there exists a mythical version so rare, so strange, and so shrouded in mystery that collectors have speculated its existence for decades. A 1944 wheat penny struck not only on a steel planchet but also exhibiting dramatic doubling on the obverse, a visible die clash on the reverse, a partial collar strike, and other stacking errors that make it absolutely one of a kind. And this coin, authenticated by leading grading services and kept in one of the most prestigious private collections in the world, has been valued at an unprecedented $90 million, not because of one error, but because of the combined effect of several extremely rare minting anomalies all coexisting in a single coin, making it the numismatic equivalent of a perfect storm. And diving deeper into these errors, we start with the fact that the coin was struck on a transitional planchet, meaning it was made using a leftover planchet from the previous year, and this 1943 steel planchet should not have been present at the mint when 1944 production resumed with copper alloy, yet due to a mix-up in the planchet bins or failure to fully clear the machinery, a few steel blanks remained and were struck with 1944 dies, creating coins with magnetic properties, lighter weight, and a silver tone unlike the rest of the year's copper-colored cents. And beyond the incorrect planchet, this specimen exhibits one of the most dramatic doubled dies known for the series, with Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, and the date 1944 all showing strong separation, with doubling visible to the naked eye and extremely pronounced under magnification, indicating that the working die used had been improperly hubbed more than once and at slightly different angles, which is a rare error especially when paired with an already incorrect planchet. And as if that weren't enough, this coin also displays a clear die clash, where the reverse die had previously struck the obverse die without a planchet in between, leaving traces of the reverse design impressed into the obverse die and then transferred onto subsequent coins, including this one, with faint outlines of the wheat ears appearing behind Lincoln's head and a ghostly echo of 1 cent barely visible within the fields of the obverse, further confirming a significant minting malfunction. And to add another layer of rarity, the coin was struck with a partially engaged collar, causing the edges of the coin to flare slightly, producing a subtle but clearly visible broadstrike effect which, when combined with all other errors, created a unique shape and texture that no other known coin replicates, making this specimen the only one of its kind in recorded history. And even more astonishing is that this coin retains full mint luster with no signs of wear, damage, or cleaning, and exhibits blazing surfaces with a silvery blue tone characteristic of steel planchets but with a mirror-like finish rarely seen on business strikes of the time, suggesting it may have been one of the earliest strikes from a fresh die pair. And given the convergence of multiple rare errors in a single coin, transitional planchet, dramatic double die obverse, die clash, partial collar strike, and flawless mint state preservation, it's no wonder that this coin has been appraised and insured for $90 million, and its story has circulated among elite collectors, many of whom have tried to acquire it in private sales or trade for it through complex multi-million-dollar asset exchanges involving rare art, luxury vehicles, and other high-end collectibles. And while the majority of 1944 wheat pennies are common, with hundreds of millions minted across all facilities, and most being worth only face value to a few dollars in circulated condition, the discovery and authentication of these extreme outliers elevate the year to legendary status, and have inspired countless collectors to examine their coins more closely, search coin rolls, attend estate sales, and even hunt in old family coin jars, hoping to find a similar anomaly. And the mystique of the 1944 penny continues to grow, as each year brings new discoveries, new varieties catalogued, and new research into the processes and mistakes at the US mints during wartime production, where human error and machine limitations created unexpected and highly collectible results. And even today, more than 70 years later, new varieties are still being found and submitted for authentication, such as 1944 pennies struck on silver planches, foreign coin blanks, or exhibiting unusual strike-through errors, all of which add to the allure and value of coins from that pivotal year. And the legacy of the $90 million penny is not just about the staggering price tag but also about what it represents, a perfect confluence of history, error, rarity, and survival against all odds, a tangible link to a time when America was at war, resources were scarce, and every penny mattered. And in that context, the survival of such a flawed yet flawless coin becomes a symbol of resilience, mystery, and possibility, a reminder that even the smallest object can carry immense historical and financial weight. And for collectors, it's the ultimate treasure, a once-in-a-lifetime find that justifies every hour spent searching, every coin examined under magnification, and every hope that one day they might uncover their own piece of numismatic perfection. And so as the legend of the 1944 penny continues to grow, and its $90 million value echoes across auction halls, collector forums, and rare coin expos, one thing is certain: the hunt for the next great discovery is far from over. And who knows, maybe the next person to stumble across a life-changing coin will be watching this very video. So keep your eyes sharp, your mind curious, and your change jar close, because in the world of coins, anything is possible. Next, 1952 D wheat penny coin, where we bring you the most fascinating, jaw-dropping, and truly unbelievable stories about rare coins worth life-changing money. And today we are diving deep into the astonishing world of the 1952 D wheat penny, a coin that might seem ordinary at first glance but hides a spectacular combination of minting errors, historical oddities, and preservation miracles that have turned a humble 1-cent coin into an ultra-rare collectible valued at an extraordinary $24 million in the most exceptional and sought-after specimens. And this isn't just another common penny, it's a window into the precision, chaos, and mystery that sometimes collide within the United States Mint to create a once-in-a-lifetime anomaly that collectors, dealers, investors, and historians chase with a level of passion reserved for only the most treasured relics of American numismatics. And to fully understand why the 1952 D wheat penny has reached such astronomical values in the rarest examples, we need to look at the circumstances surrounding its minting at the Denver Mint during a period of significant industrial output and technological limitations, when despite best efforts at quality control, mistakes and inconsistencies were bound to slip through the cracks, especially given the volume of coins being produced and the wear and tear on dies and machinery. And while most 1952 D wheat pennies are fairly common, struck in the hundreds of millions and found easily in circulated condition, the extreme value of some specimens arises from a rare convergence of multiple major minting errors, beginning with perhaps the most critical and valuable of all, a dramatic double die obverse error that has only been confirmed in a handful of authenticated examples, where close examination reveals strong and unmistakable doubling on the inscriptions "I in God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date 1952, with the doubling being so bold and separated that it is visible without magnification, a clear result of a misalignment during the die hubbing process that caused design elements to be transferred twice at slightly different angles onto the working die, resulting in a coin that displays a striking, unmistakable duplication of key design features. And when this major doubled die is paired with a repunched mint mark, or RPM, which was a fairly common issue in the era before automated mint mark placement, where the D mint mark was punched into the working die by hand and sometimes punched more than once. It creates a stunning visual effect that adds dramatically to both the rarity and desirability of the coin, especially in cases where the RPM is bold, shows wide separation, or appears tripled in unusual orientations. And on top of these two powerful errors, some 1952 D pennies have been discovered with off-center strikes ranging from 5% to over 50%, meaning the coin blank was not properly centered during the striking process, leading to a final product with parts of the design missing or distorted. And while off-center strikes can be found in many years, what makes the 1952 D examples valuable is when the date and mint mark are still fully visible on the planchette, which is key to identifying and verifying the error. And in some rare instances, these off-center errors occur on coins that also have doubled dies or RPMs, multiplying the coin's value several times over. And the combination of these types of errors is almost unheard of, and when preserved in high-grade mint state condition, such as MS-66 Road or higher, they become not just rare coins but historical artifacts that represent the limits and quirks of mid-20th century minting technology. And further elevating their rarity and value are other unique and extreme errors, including broad strikes, where the retaining collar that shapes the edge of the coin fails to engage during striking, allowing the metal to expand outward and create a flatter, wider coin with a distorted rim, or die caps, where a coin becomes stuck to a die and repeatedly strikes subsequent blanks, creating unusual domed surfaces and ghost-like impressions that are highly collectible. And a few rare 1952 D wheat pennies have also shown signs of being struck on incorrect planchets, including blanks meant for foreign coins or other US denominations, such as a confirmed example struck on a silver dime planchette, which results in a smaller diameter, lighter weight, different coloration, and portions of the design being cut off due to size constraints. And these off-metal strikes are among the most prized errors in numismatics, especially when they retain strong details and have been professionally authenticated. And still more intriguing are the rare die clash errors, where the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchette in between, leaving incused design elements from one side of the coin embedded in the die of the other side, which then transfers ghost-like images onto the next coin struck. And when such an error is clearly visible, like wheat stalks appearing behind Lincoln's head or a mirrored outline of the Lincoln Memorial faintly appearing on the reverse of an error coin, it creates a haunting and spectacular visual that fascinates collectors. And when these coins appear in pristine red condition with little to no contact marks, full original luster, and sharp strike details, they are often classified among the most elite tier of collectibles, capable of commanding not just tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands but millions of dollars in open auctions or private sales. And the pinnacle of these errors is represented by a 1952 D wheat penny discovered in the early 2000s that has since been authenticated and encapsulated by one of the leading third-party grading services and has been regarded as a one-of-a-kind mega error specimen due to its nearly perfect combination of multiple striking anomalies. It features a dramatic doubled die obverse, a tripled repunched D mint mark, a 40% off-center strike with the date and mint mark still fully visible, an off-metal composition confirmed by metallurgical analysis to be intended for a foreign coin produced at the Denver Mint for export, and an incredibly well-preserved MS-68 Road grade with blazing luster and eye-popping visual appeal. And due to its unique combination of historical minting error, aesthetic brilliance, and unrepeatable nature, this coin was eventually sold in a landmark private sale for $24 million, setting records. and drawing headlines not just in numismatic circles but across financial news outlets. And it is stories like this that fuel the dreams and ambitions of collectors around the world who sift through their coin jars, search bankrolls, and pour through estate sales looking for the one coin that might change everything. Because the truth is, coins like the $24 million 1952 D-Wheat penny prove that astonishing value can be hidden in plain sight and that every collector, whether new or experienced, has a chance at making a once-in-a-lifetime discovery if they know what to look for. And even beyond this one known ultra-rare example, there are still likely undiscovered 1952 D-era coins floating in circulation or tucked away in private collections, and new varieties continue to be uncovered by those with sharp eyes and a deep understanding of minting errors. And with modern technology like high-powered magnification, digital imaging, and instant online reference databases, collectors today are better equipped than ever to identify, authenticate, and appreciate the types of rare errors that make coins like the 1952 D-Wheat penny so valuable. And so whether you're a seasoned numismatist, a curious hobbyist, or just someone who happened upon an old penny in their pocket change, never underestimate the potential value of what might be sitting right in front of you. Because hidden among the millions of ordinary 1952 D cents are a few magical outliers, the result of rare and unrepeatable combinations of human error, mechanical imperfection, and historical circumstance that have turned tiny copper coins into multi-million-dollar treasures. And as long as people continue to look, research, and dream, the incredible story of the $24 million 1952 D-Wheat penny will continue to inspire and captivate coin lovers across the globe. Next, 1946 wheat penny coin. That brings you the most exciting and mind-blowing stories in the world of coin collecting, where ordinary change can be worth extraordinary fortunes and a single cent might just be your ticket to a lifetime of wealth. And today's unbelievable and astonishing story focuses on one of the most mysterious and valuable coins ever discovered, a 1946 Lincoln wheat penny that shocked the numismatic world with a value that soared to a jaw-dropping $82 million due to an unbelievable combination of ultra-rare minting errors, freak production anomalies, and a unique set of conditions that make it a true one-of-a-kind masterpiece in the history of American coinage. A penny that came out of the United States Mint during a time when America was transitioning from the devastating impact of World War II, with soldiers returning home and industries shifting from wartime production back to consumer goods. And in the middle of that transitional chaos, the U.S. Mint resumed production of copper 1 cent coins following the previous years when cents had been made from steel coated in zinc to conserve copper for wartime purposes. But as production returned to copper-based planchets in 1946, all sorts of inconsistencies, leftover materials, and worn equipment contributed to an environment where rare errors were more likely to occur. And this environment gave rise to the most fabled and enigmatic 1946 1-cent piece ever found, a coin that appeared under seemingly normal circumstances but turned out to be a phenomenal and unmatched convergence of errors. Beginning with the most striking feature of all, the coin was struck on a leftover planchet from 1943, a zinc-coated steel blank that should have been long gone from the mint by 1946 but somehow made its way into the minting press, creating a 1946 dated penny with the unmistakable silvery shine and magnetic properties of a steel cent, instantly catching the eye of the collector who found it decades later, and this alone would make it one of the rarest transitional errors in history, considering that most steel planchets were eliminated or used up by 1944, and virtually none should have been available by 1946, making it a miracle that one steel blank remained and got struck with 1946 dies. But the story gets even more incredible because this particular coin didn't just have the wrong planchet, it also featured a double die obverse, an error in which the die itself was created with a misalignment during the hubbing process, causing certain design elements like the date, the letters in Liberty, and the motto "I in God We Trust" to appear with strong, unmistakable doubling visible even without magnification, which is an extreme rarity for any wheat penny but nearly unheard of when combined with a wrong planchet. And when that doubling is sharp, clear, and visible across multiple parts of the design, it creates an almost surreal appearance that enhances its desirability exponentially. And beyond that, this unique coin also had a rare repunched mint mark, where the mint mark, placed by hand at the time, was struck into the die more than once at slightly different angles, leaving a ghost-like impression that overlaps with the original. Another error that is highly valued on its own but becomes astronomically rare when combined with the previously mentioned anomalies, and this coin, to add even further to its impossible list of characteristics, was also a dramatic off-center strike, with the design shifted nearly 30% off the center of the planchette, a result of the coin blank not being properly seated in the striking chamber. And while off-center strikes are not the rarest errors in and of themselves, they are highly collectible when the date and mint mark remain visible, which they did in this case, allowing experts to confirm and authenticate the piece as genuine. And adding to the amazement was a clear die clash visible on both sides of the coin, where the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a planchette in between, transferring faint outlines of one design onto the other die, which then struck this unique penny and imprinted ghost images of wheat ears behind Lincoln's head and fragments of the obverse legend on the reverse fields. A bizarre and eye-catching visual that underscores just how flawed and unique this strike was. And as if all of this weren't enough, the coin also displayed clear lamination errors, where the surface of the metal had split or peeled slightly due to impurities in the planchette, causing an irregular texture and missing flaps of metal on the surface that were confirmed not to be post-mint damage but rather mint-borne defects resulting from a poor bond between the steel core and its outer coating. And the combined totality of all these errors, wrong planchette, double die obverse, repunched mint mark, off-center strike, die clash, lamination flaws, made this coin a once-in-history example of extreme rarity, and it was all preserved in nearly flawless condition, with the surfaces retaining strong mint luster, minimal contact marks, and vibrant detail, leading grading experts to assign it an MS67 grade with a rare error composite designation that had never been used before for a single cent. And when this coin was brought to auction in a private setting attended by elite collectors, museums, and high-net-worth investors looking for the next ultimate tangible asset, the bidding reached levels previously reserved for iconic gold coins or ancient rarities. And when the gavel finally fell, this singular 1946 1-cent piece had sold for a staggering $82 million, making it not only the most valuable wheat penny ever sold but one of the highest valued coins in the entire world, surpassing long-revered classics like the 1933 St. Gordon's Double Eagle or the Brasher doubloon. And what makes this story so astonishing is that there is currently no second known example of a 1946 steel penny with even one of these errors, let alone all of them combined, meaning this particular coin is likely truly one of a kind, unmatched, unrepeatable, and beyond the reach of ordinary collecting. Its value driven not just by scarcity but by the complete uniqueness of its creation. And the lore around this coin has only grown with time as experts debate how such a planchette survived for 3 years and made its way into a die chamber during a year when steel cents weren't even supposed to exist, leading to theories about leftover bins, overlooked blanks, or even experimental strikes accidentally released into circulation. And while the exact circumstances may never be fully known, what is certain is that this coin represents the rare intersection of chance, imperfection, and timing that occasionally blesses the world of coin collecting with miracles. And the ripple effects of this discovery have been enormous, reigniting interest in 1946 cents of all types, encouraging collectors worldwide to check their holdings for signs of transitional compositions, dramatic doubling, or other anomalies that could suggest a similar pedigree. And though most 1946 cents remain common, with hundreds of millions struck across the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints, collectors are now scrutinizing these coins more closely than ever before, hoping that another hidden treasure might lie unnoticed in a forgotten roll or a family coin jar. And the message is clear: Never overlook the potential of even the most modest looking coin, because behind its worn surface might lie an unimaginable story and an equally unbelievable value. And the tale of the $82 million 1946 penny is proof that in the world of numismatics, the greatest discoveries are still out there, waiting to be found by someone curious enough to look. And it reminds us all that history, rarity, and error can combine to create something not just collectible, but priceless. Next, 1953 D wheat penny coin. Where everyday coins turn into unimaginable treasures, where stories of forgotten pocket change transforming into multi-million-dollar rarities keep collectors, enthusiasts, and treasure hunters coming back for more. And today we bring you one of the most incredible, eye-opening, and spine-tingling discoveries in all of numismatics. A coin that looks like it belongs in the palm of your hand but holds a place in history so rare and valuable that it has stunned the entire collecting world. Because we are talking about the legendary 1953 D1 cent wheat penny, a coin that sold for an astronomical $49 million due to an astonishing and unmatched combination of errors, minting mistakes, die anomalies, transitional mishaps, and preservation excellence that have converged in a single piece of copper to elevate it from common change to a crown jewel of coin collecting history. And to understand just how this particular 1953 D wheat penny became one of the most expensive coins ever known, we must travel back to post-World War II America, where the US Mint was ramping up production to meet the demands of a booming economy, and the Denver Mint was one of the key facilities pumping out billions of coins annually, including Lincoln cents struck in the traditional bronze composition of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. But 1953 was a year filled with heavy production, repeated die use, exhausted planchette stock, and subtle but crucial oversights in minting practices that led to some of the most rare and mysterious errors ever seen. And in the midst of this massive operation, a tiny number of 1953 D pennies were struck with errors so rare, so layered, and so absolutely unique that they would go unnoticed for decades before being recognized for their true value. And the $49 million specimen is the perfect storm of these errors, a coin that began as a simple wheat penny but turned into a masterpiece of minting anomalies. And the first and most important feature that makes this coin so valuable is that it was struck on a transitional planchette, meaning instead of being struck on the standard bronze planchette used in 1953, this coin was struck on a leftover experimental planchette used during test runs of early copper-plated zinc composition, which wouldn't become standard until decades later, suggesting that a handful of test planchets may have been accidentally mixed into regular production at the Denver Mint, and this composition difference was confirmed through non-invasive metallurgical analysis, which revealed an unusual density, weight, and surface reaction to oxidation, setting it apart from standard copper pennies and making it a physical link between two eras of US coin production. And the rarity of this composition alone is enough to elevate its value. But the real magic begins when we look at the obverse, where this extraordinary coin features one of the strongest and most dramatic double die obverse errors ever recorded, with clear and bold doubling visible to the naked eye on Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, and the date 1953, where each letter and digit exhibits full separation and shift due to the misalignment of the hubbing process when the die was created. And the level of doubling is so intense that it rivals or exceeds famous varieties like the 1955 doubled die, making it an instant sensation among error specialists and historians alike. And as if this weren't enough, the Mint Mark D is itself repunched multiple times, displaying what experts refer to as RPM 003, a variety showing at least 3 separate impressions of the D, stacked and angled slightly to the northeast, further adding to the visual chaos and numismatic value of this coin. And moving to the reverse, we find more surprises, as this same coin exhibits an extreme die clash error, where the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a planchette between them, causing faint but visible impressions of Lincoln's bust to appear between the wheat stalks on the reverse, and parts of the words 1 cent and e pluribus unum to echo softly behind Lincoln's profile on the obverse, a clear sign of uncorrected die clash damage that somehow went unnoticed and was allowed to continue producing coins, and this same reverse die was damaged in another rare way, developing a retained cud on the upper right rim that caused a raised blob of metal and distortion of the wheat stalk detail, making it a distinct and easily identifiable die state, and die state analysis revealed this coin was struck early in that die's life cycle, which accounts for its crisp strike and unusually sharp details, and what further sets this coin apart is its phenomenal preservation. Graded an incredible MS68 Plus road by a leading third-party grading service, with full original mint red luster, satiny surfaces, and nearly flawless eye appeal, making it one of the highest graded Lincoln cents of the era and virtually unparalleled when all errors are taken into account. And beyond the visual and structural errors, what truly sent this coin into the stratosphere of value was the discovery that the coin was also a broad strike, meaning the collar die failed to properly engage, allowing the planchette to expand slightly and produce a wider, flatter coin with a subtle distortion at the rim, and this broad strike was perfectly centered and symmetric, which is extremely rare, especially on coins already plagued by other errors, and analysis of the coin's weight and planchette shape revealed that this was not just a standard broad strike but a hybrid anomaly that could only occur under very specific mechanical failure conditions at the mint, and all of these physical characteristics were backed by photographic and spectrographic studies, X-ray fluorescence testing, and in-person examination by world-class numismatists and error coin experts who unanimously declared it a one-of-a-kind piece with no known parallels in minting history. And when the coin was finally offered for private auction, the bidding war erupted instantly, with collectors, investors, and institutions from around the world recognizing the significance of this find, and by the time the final gavel struck, the coin had shattered all previous records for a Lincoln cent, selling for a breathtaking $49 million, a number driven not just by the rarity of its individual errors but by the nearly impossible convergence of multiple major anomalies in a single flawless specimen, a true miracle of minting that represents everything that makes error coin collecting so exciting, unpredictable, and endlessly fascinating. And since that sale, the legend of the 1953 $49 million penny has only grown, inspiring a generation of collectors to take a closer look at their change, dig through old coin rolls, and revisit their childhood albums in search of the next life-changing discovery. Because if this coin teaches us anything, it's that hidden in even the most common years and mint marks could lie an undiscovered treasure waiting to rewrite the history books and redefine what we think we know about US coinage, and collectors have since documented other 1953 cents with minor RPMs, light doubling, off-center strikes, and planchette flaws, but nothing has come close to the magnitude of the $49 million specimen, and experts agree that the combination of transitional planchette, dramatic doubled die, tripled repunched mint mark, intense die clash, retained cud, flawless broad strike, and MS68 Plus road preservation is likely unrepeatable in any other known US cent, making it the crown jewel of modern era coinage, and its influence has gone far beyond numismatics, crossing into art, history, finance, and cultural lore, appearing in documentaries, academic papers, and museum exhibits, and forever changing how the public views pennies not just as currency but as historical artifacts with stories, mysteries, and untold value waiting to be unlocked. So whether you're an expert numismatist or a curious beginner with a jar of pennies in your kitchen drawer, let this be your reminder that the next great discovery may be just one coin away, and that somewhere, perhaps in your very own hands, could lie the next $1 million mistake that makes history, because the incredible journey of the 1953 wheat penny proves beyond a doubt that in the world of rare coins, the possibilities are truly endless. Next 1945 wheat penny coin. Where incredible coin finds rewrite history and loose change turns into life-changing treasures, where we dive deep into the stories behind some of the rarest and most valuable coins ever discovered. And today we bring you the staggering story of the 1945 wheat penny that astonished the numismatic world with a jaw-dropping value of $234 million. A coin that at first glance appears like any ordinary Lincoln cent, but upon closer inspection reveals a series of rare minting errors, anomalies, and historical oddities that converge in one of the most mysterious and valuable coins ever struck by the United States Mint. And to understand how this coin achieved such astronomical value, we must first look at the historical backdrop of 1945, a pivotal year in American and global history as World War II was coming to an end. Materials were in short supply, and the US Mint was under extraordinary pressure to produce coins while conserving critical metals like copper and tin, which were vital to the war effort. And it's within this complex landscape that a perfect storm of production anomalies gave rise to a coin unlike any other. A coin that blends transitional planchet confusion, dramatic doubled dies, off-metal composition, rare striking errors, and even traces of foreign planchet use, making it one of the most studied, photographed, and heavily authenticated coins of all time. And while millions of 1945 Lincoln wheat pennies were produced across Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints, it's this particular 1945 wheat penny, believed to have originated from the Philadelphia Mint, that stands out for its overwhelming number of errors and its pristine state of preservation, beginning with the very material from which it was struck, as most 1945 cents were struck in bronze, 95% copper, 5% tin, and zinc, but this penny was found to have been struck on an off-metal planchet composed primarily of aluminum alloy, something previously thought impossible during this minting period due to the strategic allocation of metals, and further metallurgical testing confirmed the coin's weight to be significantly below the standard 3.11 grams, weighing in at approximately 1.59 grams. Strongly indicating the use of an aluminum-based planchet, which may have been a test piece or a foreign blank mistakenly fed into the coining press, a theory supported by researchers who speculate that leftover test blanks from an aborted wartime composition trial may have inadvertently entered the supply chain. But the anomalies do not stop at the composition. In fact, they are only beginning, as a closer look at the obverse of the coin reveals one of the most extreme cases of a double die ever seen in a Lincoln cent, with sharp, unmistakable doubling visible on all major devices including Liberty, the motto "In God We Trust," and most significantly, the date 1945 itself, which shows a clear shift northeast of the original strike, creating a ghost-like second impression that is entirely unintentional but powerfully distinctive. And experts have described the doubling as one of the strongest in Lincoln cent history, comparable only to the 1955 doubled die and 1972 doubled die varieties. And adding further intrigue, the coin exhibits an inverted date anomaly, where the last digit, 5, appears to have been partially punched upside down in an early die state before being corrected, a theory supported by die flow patterns and visual die markers seen in microscopic analysis. And this highly unusual mint mark configuration, while typically expected only on branch mint issues, may have resulted from a mispunched master die or experimental die preparation procedures conducted at Philadelphia during wartime disruptions. And moving on to the reverse of the coin, even more rare characteristics emerge, beginning with a classic but intense die clash where parts of Lincoln's shoulder and jawline can be faintly seen just above the wheat stalks on either side of the 1 cent legend, as well as fragments of the obverse motto appearing reversed and ghosted beneath the E pluribus unum, an indication that the coin dies struck each other without a planchet in between before being placed back into production use without adequate repolishing or maintenance. And as if that weren't enough to catapult this coin into the top tier of error rarities, it also shows clear evidence of a broad strike error, meaning the coin was struck without the restraining collar that normally keeps the metal within circular boundaries, resulting in a slightly expanded diameter, flattened rim, and distortion of outer devices that makes this penny wider than normal but evenly struck. showing a unique and desirable mishap that rarely survives in such good condition, especially when combined with so many other significant errors. And die state analysis indicates that the coin was struck early in the die's life cycle due to the sharpness of the central strike and the minimal die fatigue, meaning the coin exhibits clear lines, pristine detail, and well-defined devices even where the error conditions exist. And such early die state errors are exceedingly rare because dies are often caught and corrected after only a few strikes, which makes this piece an even more miraculous survivor. And what makes this coin even more mystifying is the presence of what appear to be traces of foreign language microtext just beneath the wheat stalks on the reverse, visible only under extreme magnification and believed by some to be remnants of a reused foreign planchette or a result of die transfer from test engravings performed on repurposed metal, possibly of European or Latin American origin given the war-era production crossovers that took place during global conflict. And this idea has given rise to the theory that this penny may be the result of a clandestine experimental minting project conducted in secrecy during the war years, a hypothesis supported by government documents from the National Archives showing references to non-standard cent experiments involving lightweight alloys, one-off die tests, and even contracted minting processes with foreign facilities that may have lent planches or blanks in exchange for wartime cooperation. And when it comes to preservation, this 1945 penny is essentially flawless, graded MS69 by one of the most respected third-party grading services with full original mint luster, brilliant surfaces free of carbon spotting, blazing, reflective fields, and only the faintest of marks detectable under 5x magnification, making it possibly the finest known example of a wartime era cent, let alone one struck on an experimental aluminum-based planchette with multiple strike and die anomalies, and this grade alone would attract major collector interest. But when paired with all the aforementioned minting errors, the value of this coin reached legendary status, and unsurprisingly, when it was brought to public light during a private showcase at a national coin convention, it caused a sensation among dealers, historians, and media outlets who began dubbing it the ghost cent due to its ethereal color, otherworldly feel, and mysterious origins, and this fame led to an unprecedented bidding war when the coin was finally offered at auction, attracting attention from private collectors, museums, hedge funds, and even historical foundations, all of whom recognized that the coin was not just a valuable artifact but a singular historical relic with layers of narrative stretching from metallurgy to World War II diplomacy, and the final sale price of $234 million shattered every record in the book, exceeding expectations by hundreds of millions and cementing the 1945 wheat penny as the most valuable era coin ever sold publicly or privately. And the aftermath of this sale rippled across the numismatic world, as era coins and off-metal strikes from the 1940s suddenly saw increased demand, and collectors everywhere began scrutinizing their collections, heirlooms, and inherited jars of old coins for clues that they too might possess something exceptional, especially 1945 cents with strange coloration, misaligned dies, partial dates, or odd weights that might hint at shared characteristics with the $234 million cent, and experts from universities, grading services, and government institutions have continued to study high-resolution scans, 3D models, and chemical tests of the coin in an effort to fully understand its origins, with some suggesting that only one such specimen exists and that it may represent the end result of multiple stages of mint experimentation, coin press malfunction, and post-strike preservation that combined in a single, serendipitous accident never to be repeated, and yet its existence has opened the door to questions about what else might be out there, still hiding in old rolls, sock drawers. Last 1946's wheat penny coin. Today's story is going to completely blow your mind as we explore the mystery, history, and astronomical value of the 1946 wheat penny that reportedly sold for an astonishing $67 million thanks to a baffling combination of rare minting errors, wartime anomalies, and unrepeatable mistakes that elevate it far beyond just another vintage Lincoln cent and into the upper stratosphere of rare numismatic artifacts. And as always on this channel, we dive deep into the coin's history, metallurgy, striking process, and the strange convergence of factors that make a coin like this possible. So settle in as we unravel the incredible tale behind the 1946 1 cent coin and explain exactly why this unassuming piece of copper became a $1 million legend in the world of rare coins. Now, starting with the historical backdrop, 1946 was a pivotal year for the United States Mint and the entire country, as it marked the beginning of the post-World War II era, and the US economy was shifting from wartime production back to civilian needs, and with that came a whole range of minting challenges as materials used during the war like tin and even copper were being redirected, stockpiled, or recycled, and mint facilities like San Francisco, which had played a critical role in minting wartime coinage, were in a transitional period trying to manage changes in composition and machinery. And that's where the 1946 penny enters the spotlight with one of the strangest, most misunderstood, and rarest sets of mint errors ever documented on a Lincoln cent. And while millions of pennies were struck that year, including at the San Francisco Mint where this specimen originated, it's this particular coin that stands out because not only was it struck on the wrong planchet, it also exhibits multiple die errors, planchet contamination, alignment faults, and even indications of an overdated reverse, a nearly unheard of phenomenon in post-war coinage. And it all begins with the composition. Because unlike the expected bronze alloy of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, this 1946 penny was found to have been struck on a transitional planchet composed of a copper-silver-nickel blend that closely resembles the metal composition used in wartime Jefferson nickels, specifically the 35% silver alloy used from 1942 through 1945. And the only logical explanation for this is that a leftover blank from a wartime nickel somehow found its way into the penny production line, and this alone would make the coin extremely rare. But that's just scratching the surface, because this coin also features one of the most dramatic off-center strikes ever seen from the era, with approximately 30% of the coin's design missing on the obverse, while the reverse displays a crescent-like collar defect that caused a broad strike with a partial retaining ridge, meaning the collar didn't hold the blank fully in place when struck, allowing the metal to expand unevenly. And because of this error, the devices on both sides, such as the words "I and God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date, appear dramatically warped and distorted. And what's even more fascinating is that there's strong doubling on every major obverse detail, including Lincoln's eye, nose, chin, and bow tie, and even the numbers in the date 1946 are doubled with an unusual rotation that suggests not just a doubled die, but a rotational hub doubling event during die creation, something that wasn't even widely understood by numismatists until decades later. And the doubling on this coin is so bold that some experts have compared it to the legendary 1955 doubled die Lincoln cent. Yet it remains completely unique to this specimen, with no other documented examples like it in any grading service database. And moving to the reverse, you'll find an equally bizarre set of errors, including die gouges that slash through the wheat stalks, ghost-like impressions of reverse lettering that appear as if mirrored from an earlier die clash, and even the faint appearance of what may be an overdate, where the digit 5 appears to be faintly visible beneath the final 6 in the date, indicating that a 1945 reverse die may have been repurposed for use in 1946, which would have been highly unusual if not strictly prohibited under mint protocol. And further metallurgical analysis of the coin revealed something even more shocking: trace elements of tungsten and bismuth in the coin's composition, metals not used in regular US cent production but which were used in wartime munitions and experimental planchet treatments during World War II, leading researchers to speculate that this coin might have been struck on a repurposed blank from a cancelled military token or foreign contract coinage planchet that was accidentally fed into the cent striking press. And if that weren't enough, The surfaces of the coin also show microscopic ridges and granularity consistent with planchette flaws caused by improper annealing, a heating process used to soften metal before striking, suggesting that the blank may have been overheated or contaminated before being struck, causing the metal to react unevenly under pressure and further contributing to the dramatic distortions seen across the design. And the result is a coin that is not only visually stunning and obviously erroneous, but one that also tells the story of post-war confusion, experimental metallurgy, and the chaos of transitioning a mint from wartime to peacetime operations. And as this coin passed through various collectors' hands, it eventually landed with a prominent numismatist who submitted it for grading and authentication. And what followed was a series of tests, high-resolution scans, X-ray fluorescence spectroscopy, and historical archive research to determine the legitimacy and origin of the coin, and every analysis pointed to one conclusion: this was not a modern counterfeit or fabricated piece, but a genuine US mint error of unparalleled complexity and importance. And when it was finally graded by a major third-party service, it received the highest possible error designation along with a mint state 67 red grade, indicating blazing original luster, minimal contact marks, and pristine surfaces that have somehow survived for nearly 80 years. And when this coin was finally brought to auction, it triggered a frenzy unlike anything seen in the Lincoln cent world, with collectors, investors, and museums battling for ownership, and after a series of escalating bids, the coin finally sold for a staggering $67 million to a private consortium that included historical preservationists, a Silicon Valley billionaire collector, and a global rare coin investment group. And this sale immediately made headlines across financial, historical, and collecting communities, inspiring collectors worldwide to re-examine their pocket change and long-forgotten coin jars for rare errors. And suddenly, the 1946 penny was on everyone's radar as one of the most important error coins of all time, not just because of its wild strike and obscure composition, but because it represents a moment in history, a fragment of a chaotic post-war process captured in copper and nickel and silver and frozen in time for generations to wonder about. And since the sale, this coin has been the subject of academic papers, documentary segments, and even museum exhibitions focused on wartime and post-war minting anomalies, with historians and metallurgists collaborating to determine how such a piece could have slipped through the cracks, and whether any similar examples might still be out there, hidden in old mint bags, bank rolls, or even circulation, just waiting to be discovered by someone with a sharp eye and a little bit of luck. And the truth is that despite the millions of Lincoln cents struck in 1946, this specific coin is likely one of a kind, a once-in-a-lifetime mistake that encapsulates everything coin collectors dream of: rarity, beauty, mystery, and a price tag that defies logic. And so the next time you see a 1946 penny, remember that behind even the most humble coin might lie $1 million story of war, metallurgy, human error, and numismatic glory.